So this is my big project template, High School Math 2 Quarter 2. So I'm Som from Neva International School, grade 10. And my big project is about water arc and water fountain. And there are introduction, methods, results, discussion and conclusion, standard reflection, and references. And this is my abstract. It's about like summary of the thing that I did in this big project. I wrote it like in this big project is about finding the equation that match with the given information. There are water arc and water fountains, and they are all parabola. If we can find the final equation from using the given number, we will have to put the formula in decimals. And you can either find x and y intercept by your brain or use my website that I wrote it here. There's more for graphing the thing that you want. And this is my name and my last name and email address. And my keywords are parabola, graph, equation, quadratic function, and formula. So this is my introduction. It's like basically what I do and the background information, like what is quadratic equation and how does it look like, how can we use it. Yeah, so it's basically this thing. It's like this formula. Yeah, and we like grab it, and there are solution and real solution or imaginary. So as you can see, the first one is real solution, so that like we can find when quadratic has passed x exit at 2 points when y equal to 0. And this is imaginary or no solution graph. So like when we grab it, there's no like pass thing, like cut, there's no. And these are my problem for phase 1 and phase 2. So for my phase 1, I want to like know the equation that match with my water arc. And the first one is the given information, this one, water arc A and water arc B, so that we have to find the equation that match with this information. So yeah, so like basically we have to build the equation that match with the given information so that we can find x-intercept and vertex. Yeah, and we put the number in the equation and slope problem, and then we can get the final equation, and we can like use decimal for find the vertex in x-intercept and y-intercept. And for my phase 2, my problem is to find the highest point it goes at vertex by finding the equation that match, and then grab it so that we can find the answer. And this is my method. So for the first one, we need to find the equation that match with the given information, and my graph is parabola, and we knew that the equation for parabola is this one, fx equal to a x, this one. And then we put the given number into the equation, and it will be like this. And you need to like clearly solve it in step, so that my answer for this water arc A is this one, A equal to 0.493x, and arc 1 will be this. Then we can find it And the final answer for water arc A is this one, so that we can use this one for graphing, and you can see the x-intercept and y-intercept in decimals that we graph it. And for water arc B, we still use the same equation as we did because the given equation, because like the given information said like it's parabola, and we still do the same, like we use the same equation and then put the given number into it and clearly solve it again. And for final equation for water arc B is this one. And lastly, for phase is to find the coordinate of each water arc. There are two ways to find the coordinate for water arc A. If you use like technology for graphing it, you can. So I'll suggest you to use the smart website. And if you want to graph by your brain, the x coordinate formula is this one. Negative b is, yeah, and then we can find the final equation. And for my water arc A, we will use this one. And A is this one, the first one that you can see, and this is B, and this is C. They're like the rule of it. And then put this number in formula to find y-intercept, and the formula will be like this. And for phase 2 is similar to phase 1 because it's parabola, but we need to find the two things that represent parabola. So the first one I shoot is water fountain that has only one arc, and the second one is water fountain that has two different arc. So, and we still use the same equation as we did because it's still a parabola, and the x coordinate and y coordinate are still the same step. And this is my result for phase 1 and phase 2, and this is for phase 1. This one is the given number that I showed you before. Yeah, so like you just put the number, the given number into the equation. This is my equation for everything. Yeah, and water arc B will be like this one. And this is for water arc 2. Yeah, and when we grab it, right, we can see the x-intercept is here, the 0 and 0. It tells you everything. And let's move to phase 2. We still do the same because it's parabola. So we use this equation and put the given number into it, and like slope it, and this is the final equation for it. So we use this final equation for finding x coordinate and y coordinate. So as you can see, this is the formula for finding x coordinate, and use the number, and y coordinates we use this one and grab it. And for water fountain B, we still do the same. This is equation, and then we put the given number into the equation and solve it so that you can get this answer. It's like the final one that you can use for graphing, and x coordinate and y coordinate so that we can graph it. And this is my discussion and conclusions. So like discussion is like when you need to tell the story that how it comes. Like if we change this, the graph will be like this. So I wrote it like my equations are all negative because the parabola graph is the maximum. Yeah, and we can see that the shape of fountain behaves like a parabola as the water is projected upward and makes some angle to the floor. It reaches the maximum height at its halfway and returns back to the floor. From this result, we can use quadratic function to describe it. Yeah, so like we can see like this is our equation for it. And where A is the vertical stretch and B, C are the points of intersection in x-axis. And my conclusion is like summary what I did all of this. All I did are for parabola graph and quadratic equation that match with the given information. The equation that I use in this project is this one. And then I use given information in the equation. For the first phase and the first water arc, my figure is this one. It's like the last one that I did. And it's negative equation because my parabola graph is maximum and the second water arc is this one. My water fountain A is this one. And my water fountain B is this one. This is for phase 2. And let's move to standard. So there are like many standard. So the first one is like rewriting the formula in many ways, but the answers is still the same. And like this one, we can like expand it to this one, but it's still the same. We learn it because it's algebra and it related to science, mathematics, engineering, and we can apply in real life such as medical study, engineering study. And for this one is factor a quadratic expression to relieve the zeros of the function it defines. So like for example, it's like this one, but we can expand it to this one because like 20 can be like when 10 times 2 is 20, right? And when it like simplify, it can be like negative 8 or like 8. So that means the number that we thought of is right. We learned this because it's related to mathematics, physics, science, so that we can use it in real life, such as medical study. And for ASSE 3B, we learn about to know that if the graph is maximum or minimum, you need to complete the square in the quadratic expression. So here's the example of it. So like is when you like so you need to like make the rule. The rule of completing the square is use the number that has 1x divided by 2 and power 2. So like the thing that has only 1x, you need to divide it by 2 and power 2 so that you can get the answer. And we have to find x and y, so that make x and y to 0 equal to 0. So for the first one, this one, so like you can use it y plus 4 equal to 0. So like x is 0, right? So that you can get y, and this is 2. So for this one, they're like, so for this one is about like exponents to transform expression for exponential function. So we like, basically, if you want to know the deposit 1,000 baht into an account paying 9% annual interest compounded monthly, how long until there's 10,000 baht in the account? So like you need to write first like PV is this one and this one, yeah, and like this is the equation for finding it, and then you put the given number into it so that you can get the answer. And we learned this standard because we can use it in real life, such like as well, such as doing a business, because there is a function relieve the maximum or minimum. For this standard, it's about using the polynomials to simplify quadratics. So like they're like P and Q, and they're like different number, and when it tells you to like P plus Q, so that you have to use the P number and Q plus together so that you can get this. Yeah, so we learned this standard because we can use to explain property of the physical, like how the gravity works, and when you know how to simplify it, you can get in the good university. So for this one, it's about slope quadratic equation in one variable. So it's basically like this one, and we need to make the x power 2 not to be negative, because we wouldn't we would not cannot find the real answer. And the next step is you need to put like the 3, you need to divide it by 2 and power 2, and you'll get the answer. Oh, and you have to put the root 2 sides to get rid of square. And this is the final answer for it. We learned this standard because it's a completing the square that transform quadratic equation, and we can use it for electrical engineering and design the equation. If we have enough knowledge, we can apply to get a better career. So for this one, it's about slope quadratic equations by inspection, taking square roots, completing the square, the quadratic formula, and factoring. So like it's basically like this one is like the problem is like here, and then you need to like change the side of -10 to that side so that it will be only 10, and then you can simplify it as this one, and like you have to get rid of the square so you can slope it. So we learn this standard because it's a basic equation in your daily life, and you can apply it for university, for being chemist, astronomer, and stuff. So for this standard, it's about a slope linear equation and a quadratic equation in two variables, algebraically and graphically. And for it's like this one, right? It's like the problem is like this one, and you need to make another side to equal to 0. Yeah, and you can find it like you can expand it like this, and you need to put the other side to 0 so that you can get the answer for each one. And for the standard FIF7A, so it's about graph linear and quadratic function and show the intercept, maximum, and minimum. So like you need to put this given number into this equation. Yeah, and we can know like the intercept. We learned this because if you know how to find x and y intercept and you can make a graph, then when you do a business, you need to find the average or the price that make profit so that you can make your graph, and you need linear and quadratic function to find it. And for this standard, it's about factoring and completing the square in the quadratic function to show zeros. So the example is like this, and you need to change it, expand it to this. How do we know like if it's -3 and -2? Because when 3 times 2 is 6, right? And then you can simplify it. Yeah, so we learned this standard because there are many ways to solve the problems, as same as your life. Like there are many ways to success, and there are many ways that your life can be ruined also. So for this standard, it's about the properties of exponential to interpret expression for exponential functions. So like they're like this, you need to completing the square, so you need to move negative 8 to one side, and then 4 divided by 2 power 2 will be 4, and you make a square root to get rid of a root. We learned it because it can be applied in your real life, such as if you know how to slope or completing the square, so that you can know the basic of math and you can develop yourself to get a better at another things that it has. And for this standard FIF9 is about properties of two functions is represented in a different way. So like here's an example. So which function gives a higher income? So there are A and B. So yeah, you need to like use the coordinate for finding it. So for this standard, it's about using the graph to see the equation will surpass at which point and is intercept or not, so that we can use this one and this one to graph it in decimal, so we can see like which point is surplus. Yeah, like here. We learned this because we can use this predict our goal in business, at which point it will surplus. And let's move to the real number system. For NR and 1 standard is about rational exponent. We learned this is about like here, and then it'll change to 7 square root 6, because if it's the same square root, it will change to only one square root and simplify it. Yeah, and NR and 2 is about rewrite expression using radical and rational exponents. So like it's kind of similar, but like it's advanced, is more advanced. So like for this case, you need to simplify it like 2 and 12 is 6, right? And then you just like simplified it. We learned this standard because we can use it to computer interest and like depreciation in the financial industry. And for N3 and NR3 is about the sum of a rational number, and a rational number is irrational. It's about like here, and then you in the root, right? We cannot get rid of it, so like we have to change it to 4 times 7. So like 7, the root of 7, we can like change it to only 1. So it'll be like this. You just like need to clearly simplify it. And we learned this because we can apply it in real life, such as science, chemistry, and engineering. And let's move to the complex number system for standard NC and 1. So it's about like complex number I, and like this is the example of it. And like the right answer for this one is B, because then square root -1 is I, and square root -4 is 2, so it can simplify to 2I. And for this standard, it's about like relation I square, so it's like is equal to -1. So for example, you need to find the sum of 4 plus 6I and 11 minus 2I. So it'd be like 4 plus 6I plus 11, like here, and we can simplify it like to here. And for NC and 7 is about real coefficient using quadratic equation, so it's like here. And then we only use this one to find if it's real or imaginary. So like put the number of from the given number in here, and then like simplifying it. The right answer is B, because the real only can be a positive and imaginary can only be a negative. We learned this standard because imaginary and real number are the basic knowledge for math, and if you have the basic knowledge, you can apply it to get a better and live a happily life because you have a great career. And that's it for the standard reflection. So there's application of standard in other courses. It's like, what did you learn like from this project? Are there any subject that related to this project? So I said English because we did use English in this big project, and physics, science, chemistry. And for references, I used the Smooth for finding the full. It makes me know better at it. Like if I forget something, I'll just click here and see how it look like. And that's more for graphing your equation and Google for finding anything, and Khan Academy